So I'm Richard Barnes. I'm sales manager at King's Crops.
And we've known each other for quite a while, haven't we, with our association with the Gamekeepers Welfare Trust and Kings?
Yes, absolutely. So I've been with Kings now for 16 years, having previously been a keeper. So yes, I should think in one guise or another we've known each other certainly for the 16 years, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you were a gamekeeper before, as you've said, so that comes with a slightly different perspective, doesn't it, to your job?
Yes, it does. I think my line has often been said is gamekeeper turned poacher in a slightly different context, and I think it's certainly given me a very valuable perspective on the industry we all work within, and appreciation and understanding of what it's like day in, day out to do the job. I mean, it might have been only full time for 6 years. I was in Kent and then in the Cotswolds, but long enough to certainly have the pressures of both a heavy commercial expectation and then more of a family expectation. But it's very useful when it's talking to a keeper on the phone or on a farm or on a shoot to understand what they're trying to get out of the job.
And that really is why why you understand about the Gamekeepers Welfare Trust so well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think over the years we've always worked closely with each of the major shooting organisations, but as time has gone on and more pressure comes into our industry from all sorts of directions, that the work you do and trustees and others within the trust, it's just absolutely priceless and invaluable. And as I say, whereas the other organisations have all got their remit and they do a great job, you are the people who are looking out for people. And when great opportunities as a new keeper coming into the industry, or heaven help us, something dreadful happens, or pressure or expectation, it means a lot to me as an individual, as an ex-keeper and manager of a business where we can hopefully help both from the most important thing from my perspective is the positive influence and raising the profile, and wherever we can we'll look to help to contribute with some funds to help keep things going. So a really, really important and valuable part of what we do, I feel.
Well, thank you very, very much. And you've just touched on the fact that you have promoted what we do, and in various ways in the shows and the fairs that you've done or that we've been in together, and also in your magazines as well, in your brochures, because that is really important to us, because we need people to know who we are and how to approach us. Otherwise, we can't help them.
No, I agree. I think there's it continues to be a massive area of awareness, and I think the work that you and your team do is only really realised and appreciated when people come upon hard times, and that's great in one respect because they have got somebody to turn to. But I think the work that you've done in recent years, the stag training and the Haynes first aid guide or well-being guide for keepers, and it's okay not to be okay work, mental health awareness, working with Rabbi and others. I still really feel that we have as an industry a huge amount more to do to raise that profile, because the Gamekeepers Welfare Trust, in my view, isn't just about when people come across hard times. It's about, as I say, a young keeper coming into the industry, or somebody changing the career midway and needing some help and some guidance. And what you bring as an organisation, I believe, is absolute impartiality. And I mean, I know you've known you well enough, haven't for many years. But if I knew if I was in trouble, I knew I could talk to you, and if you weren't available, there'd be somebody else there. And I think that impartiality and understanding and confidentiality is critical, and we need to do more as an industry to raise that help and support that is there if you need it.
Thank you. Would you like to just explain how you've helped us over the years?
Yeah, certainly. So I think it started a few years ago where we felt that we want, rather than just have a logo in a catalogue or on a website, and saying we're associated or proud to sponsor or be partners. We felt very strongly I didn't want to be ticking a box and actually not delivering. It's very easy to attribute yourself with an organisation and find yourself not actually doing anything. So, as we've done with the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust at Loddington and their research work in Scotland, we've put our money where our mouth is and contributed both, financially, but more importantly, from our perspective, physically, both with raising awareness in the profile and with seed or technical support or advice. But with the GWT, it was really looking at how we could help raise funds and raise profile at the same time. So we have one of our popular seed mixtures, our winter wildlife holding cover, which is useful for shooting cover, it's useful for stewardship, it's useful for on-farm conservation. And we thought, well, if for every bag of seed that we sell, we could donate £1 to the trust, and that's been very successful over the last few years. And I think we're up to sort of £3,000 or £4,000 through that, which you could argue over that period doesn't sound a lot, but it's as you say as well. Alongside that is the press and the coverage in our catalogue, and significant number of catalogues going to a wide range of people, not just game managers. So it's helping to get the trust under the noses of a new audience. And this year it's been really good to support your work with the Year of the Gamekeeper. So this year we're instead of donating £1, we're donating £2.20. So £2.20 for 2020, which will hopefully boost the donation this year a little bit further on. So as I say, the money is obviously important and it helps support your work, but hopefully that profile raising and being genuine ambassadors, that means a lot to us, and hopefully to our customers that's something that they value and appreciate too.
Thank you. And your organisation yourselves, you've changed over the years and adapted to reach customers with your talks and demonstrations and things, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. So I think back, certainly when I joined King's 16 years ago, it was a game cover business, and absolutely we still very much remain a game cover business, but we've seen our sort of range of products expand and influence expand, and actually more into a whole farm or a whole estate view now, with conservation crops through delivery of stewardship schemes, voluntary habitat improvement through the campaign for the farmed environment back in the day, which is now championing the farmed environment, developing mixes like our campaign mix and Moya mixes, which bread and butter now, but back in the day they were designed around having plans to keep weeds at bay, and any keeper knows that all our pictures in our catalogue look lovely, but easy to put a catalogue together, but far more difficult to plant a seed mix in the ground with maybe a less enthusiastic farmer or landowner and get good results. And we've tried to move that sort of dialogue from just chucking in a game crop and hopefully it works, to actually planning a game cover crop and hopefully integrating it into a stewardship agreement and delivering a really good outcome for the shoot, for the wider farmed environment and the farmer and the landowner. And I think we've seen massive shift in our industry in the last few years. From a lot of gamekeepers would rely just on game cover such as maize or kale, and through the support that we put in terms of agronomy and husbandry work alongside a few others in the industry, that gamekeepers can now deliver really good habitats for the wider farm environment. And as we constantly are getting more curious inquiries from other parties in the world we work in, being able to demonstrate and deliver good environmental outcomes for farmer birds, pollinators, soil and water, and as a byproduct we get some shooting out of it, it's got to be a really good thing.
Yeah. And that's just going to be more and more and more important, isn't it, into the future?
It is, and my little moment here, whilst we have this podcast, is to really, challenge and encourage every single game manager. It doesn't matter if you're doing some part-time work at the weekends, you're in a part-time syndicate, or you're head keeper on a large estate, wherever it may be, is that we need to be talking more and more and more about the great stuff we're doing and be really proud and confident and positive about it. We all spend a lot of our time sort of dipping our heads from up and above the parapets when things come in, but if we're on the front foot and engage with people and get involved with the likes of the Game and Wildlife Conservation Trust, Big Farm and Bird Count every February, count and record what you're doing for farm and birds and for pollinators, and just spread that word, because good will prevail without any doubt whatsoever, and there's some fantastic work going on farms and shoots. And if you took the sporting side out of the landscape, then very quickly we'll be in a position where we might be a lot worse off for other farm and birds and non-beneficial species.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's what the Year of the Gamekeeper was partly about, to celebrate gamekeeping and be proud of who we are and what we do.
Yes, absolutely. And that message, I think, is definitely there. And I think the great thing with the Trust as well is the role of the patrons. And you've got some fantastic patrons across the board, landowners, land managers, game managers, and it's at every level we need to be spreading the word of the good work. And whether it's a gun who just will come and shoot 4 or 5 days a year, or a keeper or a beater, everybody's got a role to play in spreading the good news, and equally spreading the news that when somebody is just not quite where they want to be, that there's people like yourselves there they can turn to 24/7 and be able to reach out and get that back up.
Yeah. We can all learn from each other, can't we? Whatever
Absolutely.
we do and whatever role we have, we can learn from each other. And we really value your support and our association. So thank you very much indeed.
No, not at all. And maybe just a quick question for you, Helen. I mean, how have you seen the industry changed? We talk about my 16 years in this job, but what are the standout changes that you've seen?
Oh, I think it certainly has. There's a lot more pressures, but we are seeing more interest and passion about the environment now, and we need to capitalise on that, really, because that's what gamekeepers have been doing for centuries, isn't it? I think the pheasant in profession has changed, and spread out throughout the year. It used to be that the jobs would come in February, and everybody was changing jobs or moving on or retiring dead on that 1st of February, and that's changed quite a lot. Become a lot more professional, become a lot more interest in education and the certification of what we do as well, rather than relying on grandfather rights and we did it this way and we did it that way, and people are more open to new ideas. So we do have a bright future.
I think very interesting point you make, my observation to younger listeners or those embarking on their career is absolutely the training piece, and not necessarily just about ATVs and motor certificates and chainsaw certificates. Is actually be really open-minded about habitat creation, because the jobs that are coming through now, especially as agri-environment and stewardship schemes grow, is actually keep managers, landowners and managers are looking for game managers who can come and help deliver the habitats as well.
Yes.
And the number of estates and farms that we're working on now, that without doubt, if somebody can come to a new role and say, I can drive a tractor, I've got my spraying certificate, I've managed habitat features, I understand the detail, I understand the background to the schemes, because that will stand them in a really strong position. Because I think more and more as we go forward that the traditional skills will be key, but the farming skills will be as important. So that would be my little sort of tip for the call, really, to help the younger entrants and those coming into the industry is, think about the broader side of it. And some of our keeper customers are just tremendous naturalists. They're extraordinary ornithologists. They are amazing photographers. And seeing some of the Instagram posts of some of our customers, I've got one particular estate where the landowner and the gamekeeper are in absolute competition as to who can snap the highest quality image from their farm and feeder or whatever it may be. And that's just, times are changing, and the core role is still the same. But I would really say to anybody, think about the bigger picture, and if you can come with some practical implementation and management skills, then you'll stand out from others when you're in a queue of people looking for a new job.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just education about oneself; it's education about others and being able to communicate that, isn't it? Now. Yes,
and that's where your stag training's been really stand out, and it's a real leadership in the industry to help gamekeepers manage, either beatkeepers, pickers up, loaders, beaters on a shoot day, or other members of staff. And I've seen the changes myself in our business as we've grown and expanded. And there was myself and a colleague when I started, and now there's 12 of us and a whole team of administrators and great colleagues behind that. So, I for one certainly learned over the years that working with others, you've got to motivate, infuse, and have a great degree of empathy to get the best out of people. And again, if you've got an estate or a farm to manage and a business to manage, and you know how to lead and direct and inspire people, then that's a great set of skills to have for any particular role.
That's right. I think also, as in many, many other professions and industries, there is more movement. So,
yes.
Keepers aren't staying on the same estate forever as they used to do. They're moving much more, and that's a great opportunity as well, isn't it? But it means that each gamekeeper and his family, or his or her family, have to think about their future in a slightly different way.
Yes.
And be more responsible for themselves.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
That is one of the reasons why we're doing these webinars about financial planning and thinking about the future for themselves as well.
Yes, no, that's a great idea, and there's many astute keepers out there who've worked hard, and one of the benefits, I guess, of the job is there's not a lot of time to go and spend, not a lot of spare time to spend spare cash. So a lot of keepers have been very good, but equally you're right, with the thoughts about planning and financial planning and pensions and managing for your children and your partner is it's great that you're doing that, because I've never been particularly good prior to this job, and I always said when I was at school that it would be much better at the school level that we had basic understanding of savings and investments and mortgages and how the world works on that front. So in a world where a lot of younger people coming into the job start off in a caravan or a mobile home or some spare room, but to get themselves on the ladder and know how to manage their finances and save for the future. And it is difficult when you're 19 coming into the trade and somebody talks to you about a pension, but I think we'd all agree that as you get older, the sooner you start the pension, the better you're going to be. So the fact that you are doing it with a focus on the industry rather than a generic financial advisor, I think is really good and is to be highly commended.
Well, we'll continue to do what we can
yes.
For people to help themselves as well as us to help them. So, yeah.
And I just in terms of doing what you do, but a key message for me, for those listening to this, is that we haven't had the shows and the events that we'd all like to have attended this year, but it's a great credit to you, Helen, because you've put in some huge hours, lots of travelling as we bumped into each other at Scone in the summer in Scotland and then down to the next game fair the following weekend. But you have a good network of people, but anybody I would suggest on a local level who's got some time to give to the trust and to help support you and your colleagues would be, I would really encourage people to do it, because you are a small group, and the wider the network you can have, I'm sure the better that you can all spread the word and ease the load, I guess, because there's a lot of work and responsibility for a very small team. So the more people can get stuck in, I think the better for everybody.
Yeah, it's having an ear to the ground in each area as well.
Yes.
So that people know where to come, and if something happens, then we can reach out to those people. That's really, really important to us. Yeah. So on a very wet evening,
yes,
we can both go off and dry off now.
well, absolutely. I very much miss my gamekeeping role most of the time. But as we talk here at the end of August, where it's been horizontal rain most of the day and now blowing a hoolie, very selfishly, and many will be rolling their eyes at this comment, I'm quite glad to have been indoors today. I'm very lucky still, because people say to me, oh, you must miss your keepering job, and they wonder why I left, and it was all part of a rough plan to get involved in the work I'm doing now. But I'm very fortunate to be in the industry we're in, because I still feel I get the benefit, best of both worlds, that I enjoy helping farmers and landowners and keepers on farm, but still feel involved in it, and it's really rewarding to sort of be working with customers now for a considerable amount of time and see the changes that are going on, and seeing, you know, people you've worked with and younger people coming into the trade, and now 10 years on they're flourishing. So it's a very bright part of the countryside we're working in, and we as a business at King's Crops have been really, really chuffed to be working alongside the trust, and we very much look forward to many more years of doing so, Helen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the upside of this rain is you might get a bit of good water for your fishing.
Oh, well, let's not start talking about fishing. We could be here for a week.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Not at all, Helen. It's been very enjoyable. Good to catch up. Thank you.
Bye-bye for now.
All the best. Bye-bye.